This episode is brought to you by Barefoot Dreams. I'm sure you've noticed, guys, our studio got a little bit comfier this season. You want to know why? I got cozy chic fabric all over this place from Barefoot Dreams. We also have their candles here. They do such a good job of not just establishing decor and clothing, but an overall comfy vibe. I love these guys. I have their stuff all over my house, all over my studio. They're also celebrating their 30th anniversary right now, which I think is really cool. And if you just feel this stuff, I do this all the time. They put this here for this season. And it's like, I feel like I could be more in touch with my guests, more cozy. Look at this. They never asked me to rub my face against it. I just feel like I want to do that to show you guys how wonderful Barefoot Dreams is. Make sure you check them out right now and enjoy the episode.
I compared kids to dogs. That's the only thing I can. Because I don't have kids yet.
Yes, hello. Welcome back to the Pop-Up with Paul and Friends, guys. I'm grateful you're here for yet another episode. Thank you for subscribing, for listening, for doing everything you're doing. You know, I'm really grateful to be in this town, which I don't always say. I think I make fun of LA a lot. I feel like I wear New Jersey on my sleeve too much. But one thing I love is when I meet really funny people who are just willing and cool to come hang out with me. Like, I just met this guy a week ago. He goes, yeah, I'll come by. Let's have a good time. And maybe it's the Midwest kindness. I don't know. But I really appreciate this here. I love his comedy. I love his songs. You've seen him from SNL. You've seen him from stand-up. Put your hands together for Luke Null, everybody.
What up? I'm looking at the cameras, but also I'm talking to you. Or part of it is that I just have aggressively little to do during the day.
Is that it? You're a night guy.
Part of it. It's part of it.
Yeah, but you don't realize, dude, I ask people I really like. Here's what I do. I ask people I like and admire, and it's a crapshoot in this town. People will go, is it paid? What am I getting from this? You're here to hang out. We're here to become friends, really.
So wait, so this is not paid?
It's not paid?
I got to go.
It's not paid. It's also not even recorded, dude. I have no friends in LA.
This is
I'm just
for
like,
show.
These are all prop mics. We're just
you're just I'm trapped here.
I got my kids and wife at home. Like, I need to pretend to have a podcast.
That'd be the good beginning to a horror movie, is setting up a podcast, and then you're here to harvest my organs.
Try and get out, dude. See what happens.
Yeah, that's not a door. Gosh. That's a one-way door.
What's that movie with the woman? And is it De Niro? No. That's the two movies. The woman when she goes crazy. It's like.
I mean, there's a couple of movies.
Misery.
Well,
that's kind of that.
She kind of starts crazy in Misery.
She does. Yeah. She's full misery.
Great. Do you like Stephen King?
I do. I've seen like some of his stuff.
Gotcha. He's a writer, just so you know.
I know.
Yeah, I've seen movies. I know.
I clearly don't read enough. I've seen every book that's been adapted into a movie. Most of them.
I just think it's funny to refer to like maybe the most popular writer as I've seen some of his stuff. You know,
which means I've seen book covers.
I've seen the book cover, and then
That's the extent of my reading. Honestly, you read a lot.
I don't read a lot, but I read.
You look like a guy who would read.
I read. Yeah. For me, it's a bedtime. It's a get off my phone.
Interesting.
And, start to detox from staring at a screen for 900 hours. So I'm it's become like a subconscious thing where it makes me tired, I think.
Totally.
But yeah, I've read a lot of King. But famously, a lot of Stephen King doesn't adapt well to movies and TV. Like a lot of his things.
The ones in my head are It and The Shining.
The Shining is great.
That's why I'm sticking out in my head.
Famously, Stephen King did not love the Shining adaptation.
I stayed at a hotel. The main hotel that was based off was actually near Chicago, I think.
There's a couple different. There's a couple different like people that claim that it's the hotel that
Well, there's another one in upstate New York I've stayed at that's very similar to it, Mohonk Mountain House.
Yeah. And then the
creepy.
Exteriors, I forget where because like they're in the movie, they're like, this is the actual hotel from the Overlook Hotel. Yeah. But I love The Shining so much, but it's very different from the book. Yeah. Very different.
But
both are good. Both are good.
I kind of don't love when people go, oh, like the book was better.
Right.
Hey, guess what?
The movie's great.
It was a book made to be consumed as words, and the movie's made to be seen as a movie.
Yes. 100%.
Why do people go like, oh, it's so much better? Like, go read it then. Don't go see the movie.
Exactly. I understand both sides of that argument. A lot of the times, like, you say when you hear people go like, oh, the book was better. A lot of the times, the movie is bad.
Yeah.
But it's like The Shining is a great example of like the movie is great.
Iconic.
The movie is iconic. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. The book is like very, very different from the movie. It's the same beat by beat story, but you're like, they are very two different things, which are both separately good.
I like the marriage of the two. Like, I mean, everyone, the Game of Thrones, another one, everyone's like up in arms about Game of Thrones.
Right.
Well, the ending was terrible, but like, the stuff based on the book was amazing. All the book stuff.
Totally, they nailed it. But yeah, the minute you run out of book.
Talk about an author having a flex too. He was like, I'm not done with this concept, but you guys figure it out.
You guys can do it. And then when everyone hated it, he was like, that's not how the book ends. No. That's not how the book ends.
Now I know what not to write. See, baller move.
Yeah. I do love those books too.
Yeah. So I say you showed up because you're a nice guy, but I will say I just met you. I knew your work and I knew who you were. And there is a Midwest kind of kindness to you out of the gate.
Thank you.
I think you carry it as your personality. Right? You just seem like a nice guy. Like if I wrote you a speeding ticket, I feel like you'd be like, I guess I'll just pay that. Like you don't seem confrontational.
I am not the most confrontational. I'm certainly a Midwestern. I appreciate you saying so. I'm a Cincinnati guy. Not that confrontational, but I'll tell you what. Having now lived all of my adult life in cities. And like now working in the entertainment industry, you have to I've learned the hard way by just being stepped on. Midwestern nice is not the way to go about your business, but in general, the way you treat people, you should be polite and kind.
Isn't that weird? Like nice guys finish last.
Fully,
it's true in this weird way.
In LA, you got to be a little bit of a squeaky wheel,
a little sharky,
a little bit.
I only came out here a few years ago, and I feel like I'm more aggressive here than I am on the East Coast. Like it comes out more. I'm like, you mess with me? You want to go?
Me too.
Right?
It's funny. People, I feel like they act like the two big cities, L.A. and New York, are so there's nothing that overlaps with them. And as far as like culturally or at least vibe wise, it's probably true. But the way that people behave. There is a little bit of an overlap of like, maybe LA, they're going to say fuck you behind your back more. But they're both saying fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're in your own way. There's an edge to people, I think. Like, people are a little on edge maybe, which is weird too. I do think when you get to a certain level in this business, you could live anywhere. Like,
I think so.
Which is kind of the goal. Like I've interviewed some crazy people that like, they're like, oh, like, I'm like, where do you live? They're like
Billings, Montana.
Yeah, exactly. Montana. I was going to say Montana. Like you get to an FU money level, I guess is the dream.
That would be the dream. What now? If you could pick, like, where would you live?
I mean,
Jersey.
I'm cliche. I would still go back to Jersey because I moved from there. That's
where your people are, right?
My people are there, but maybe a part of Jersey that's like private, like a beach town that's like small and private.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think what I've learned is that I don't want to be anywhere forever. Like I want to,
nice.
But I think. Like my wife and I, we love New Orleans. We got married there. We do a month of the year there. It started during pandemic. We did like an apartment swap kind of thing.
That's amazing.
But now we do the month of November there every year. And what I've learned is that we love New Orleans, but I don't want to live there year round. So I would love to like do like wintertime in New Orleans and maybe summertime in like Chicago or something.
I feel like New Orleans, I mean, not that any city is good for my liver, but I feel like New Orleans is bad for my liver. Like
it's
in a good way.
Drinking town. It is a drink. There's so much good food too. I gain every that month. I come back and I'm like, I got to pump the brakes.
I went on a bachelor party there. You know how it went. You mean it was a lot of that.
My brother got married a few weeks ago and his bachelor party this past year, I had it for him down in New Orleans.
Nice.
I was like the guide. I was like Mother Goose with all these drunk dudes behind me. And me just taking them to all my favorite spots. Dude,
I was just talking about this, how you don't realize when you're the commitment level, if you're organizing a bachelor party, because I've been on some, I was just making fun of my buddies who like don't have, I'm not type A, but I know I'm a hospitable Italian. Like if we're going somewhere, I'm like, I know where to dinner, drinks. We're gonna have cigars. We're gonna. You have to be that way.
From a new friend perspective, to me, you do read as type A.
Really?
Just it seems like you got your stuff together. You have a nice haircut. You're organized. You have a thing. I'm saying like, I think the stereotype of type A is that you're like you don't have to be overbearing.
Interesting.
But that you got your T's crossed and your I's dotted, which is Whereas me, very, very not type A.
Really?
My wife's very type A.
So I think that too about my wife. Maybe it's just because I married someone more type A than me. We're both A's, maybe.
There's always a type A-er person.
Well, this does look organized. Remember, it's all to kill you. So this is not
true.
really. It's not really.
Which is even more organizational. I'm sure you have like a Dexter plastic wrap set up so that there's not as much mess.
Wait, I kind of want to just for my own amusement edit in now my voiceover like it's Dexter real quick.
He's on to me. We have to prove the dark passenger is part of me, and I must prove that he's a killer. Because that was Dexter's thing. Can only kill a killer.
I watched that in the middle of the pandemic, actually. I loved it.
That's another one that was like, dude, the first 5 seasons, let's go. Yeah. And then you're like, what are we doing here?
Still milking it. Oh, this is crazier now. Yeah.
And now he's a lumberjack.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the
like,
new one.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. That's a really nice point, though, about not being able to live anywhere. That's so interesting to think about. You were saying that before? Because, I think I identify too much of where I'm from because my personality and doing comedy. And I think
Jersey people tell you they're from Jersey.
Exactly. And we don't even say new. We just go Jersey. But maybe you can help me in a way about stand-up. Like, I feel like from your years doing comedy, you kind of know your strengths and you know who you are and how you want to present yourself to the audience. Like, I say you're friendly in Midwest because when you're on stage, you're also like, I like that guy. You see, you're like, I like that guy. Like, right away.
I appreciate that.
That's something that you must have developed. I'm sure it's you too. But
you go through just doing so much stand-up stuff on stage. People are taking the temperature check with you every few seconds when you're up there, right? And I perform, as you know, with a guitar, which is a bit of you gotta call it out up top because especially when people didn't buy a ticket just to see me. You know, if it's a show in LA where there's a bunch of comedians on the show, you do have people that are like, oh no, I don't want this at all. This is not my vibe. Yeah. So you have to be like, give me a second, give me 1 second, and then you can hate me later. But give me one.
Yeah. Let me win you.
I have a weird thing recently that I always, I feel like a lot of stand-up comedians now, it's all about the crowd work stuff. Like you're good at checking in with the crowd and being like, what's up with you? What's up with you? That's something to me that I'm not good at that stuff. Not because I can't think on my feet and I can't go with the flow. I can. And when I do it, it's fun. There's something about I like when I'm performing to perform kind of into the void. Yeah. There's I have a problem, a weird thing of looking the front row in the face. I don't like going to the very front. If I'm going to somebody, I'm going for dude in row 7. You know what I mean?
It's like a separation kind of.
Yeah, there's something weird that it's a mental block where I'm I feel like I kind of ignore front row often.
Is that a people pleasing thing maybe? You don't want to, because sometimes for me I go if I'm at a show in the front row, I don't want to be talked to. I know the feeling, and maybe in your head you're like, they didn't come here to be ripped on or messed with, but the guys in the back aren't as close to me. I don't know.
I feel like it's the opposite.
Oh yeah?
I think the people that come to and sit in the front, oftentimes
they do now.
They do now, at least. So maybe that's been a trend I've been seeing change. But in general, I feel like if you're coming to a comedy show and you're sitting in the front, you kind of know there's a chance that someone's going to talk to you. But it's also certain places why people won't sit in the front. They're resistant to sit in the front because they're scared of it. I'm not going to fuck with you if you're, I'm not going to fuck with you in general. But the other thing is most of the time the people in the front, they've already been talked to. And so a lot of the time I'm drooping my sunglasses. I'm going at the end. Right. And so
which means he's a headliner.
Which means I'm a headliner.
Which means he's the draw.
What's up?
The Luke draw.
Or they just don't want to put a guitar in the middle of the show. Usually it's more of an energy thing. But in general, they've been mined. You know what I mean? And so I don't know.
Keep in mind, I do it out of insecurity because I am more comfortable with people as an interviewer as my backbone. I'm way more natural playing off people in the moment than I am writing good jokes. So I just hide behind if this joke sucks, I might as well just see what this couple's doing because I can pursue that more than writing better in my mind. But I think that's what we do with stand-up. We see our strengths and weaknesses and we kind of harp on them and we find our insecurities, we try and work on them. Yeah. Your strength's always been the guitar, it seems.
The guitar has always been... I used to definitely do a lot more very sing-songy, catchy tunes. Was something that kind of got me started. But the more I've done it, the more I've basically am using the guitar as kind of a metronome for which I can just do stand up over.
Totally.
And I'm kind of singing stand up. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I write jokes like any other stand up does. I talk about shit like any other stand up does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I do feel like, you know, like you say, you kind of play to your strengths. And that was something that I was always like, I'm good at this. And it's something that I can do without having to think too much about.
Yeah.
And it's a little different element in that sometimes you can get away with things on a guitar that if I just said it straight,
Totally.
maybe not.
But that's why it works, though. It's like everything matters. Like you're likable and you're not like a threat in some way. But then the guitar, like the funny, like dark stuff you say,
Right.
really works because like the guitar, it's like you could get away with it. You know what I mean?
There is a certain like get away with it factor when it comes to singing, especially like filthy things.
Yeah.
People will follow you just a scooch further. But then for a long time I had a really bad problem of like a lot of comedians now are very vulnerable on stage and they're very much themselves. And with crowd working stuff, you kind of have to be, or you have to be at least. Your personality has to read pretty immediately. And like some of my favorite comedians are people who are like bulletproof and you don't really know who they or what they are and think like I love Norm Macdonald. It's one of my very favorites. And like talk about a guy who shows absolutely zero vulnerability on stage. Like that's something I love about stand-up. It's just there's a million ways to do it and be successful at it. And I was very much so like I'm up there singing these songs and you don't really know what I think but I've been trying in the last couple years to offer more of a part of myself when I'm up there rather than
Look, there's no right way.
No,
you know, like
no
that's
right
the
way.
challenge. I think I always talk on the show about like how people do it because I'm such a student of the form.
Sure.
And I like just understanding like that's interesting that you want to be that way and you are that way and it's okay, you know? And like so many greats. I mean, Mitch Hedberg, these people like so many
bulletproof.
Yeah.
0% of telling you about his actual self is within any of those jokes.
And then you have, you know, obviously Seinfeld, the people that, you know, like candles. Why is the wick always burning? Like I always struggle with like, who am I?
I loved your Seinfeld, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
What's the deal with candles?
I actually recently got to talk with him and I was wondering like I Googled how often he actually says what's the deal because like that's his main impression, right? But it was
it's like he never says that.
Other characters on Seinfeld more than him. He said it and he said it in a stand-up, but it became more other people as the years went on. It's just so funny.
That's what he gets.
Yeah, right.
When because you've interviewed a bajillion people.
Yeah.
And like, man, oh man, you got to talk to so many people. Like, and I'm sure people have asked you like, what's the worst that it's gone?
Yeah.
But I don't want to ask you what's the worst that it's gone. I want to ask you like, when you're interviewing people, when it has gone south on you, why do you think, like, has there been something where you're like, here's a quick way to get someone not on your side?
Totally. It's been me thinking everyone can improvise and be funny. It's that simple. Where literally,
you're totally right.
I approach it.
You're totally right. Especially actors where they need to be told, you know.
Dude, listen, you're a comedian. Can we just say actors don't know who they are, and if they're not exactly controlling environments, certain actors, they go haywire and they think you're a jerk, or like I'm such a
They're
fun.
Like, stop trying to play with me.
Exactly.
Right.
I'll tell you a story quick if you want to hear one.
Sure.
Just as it's funny. I love Pierce Brosnan. I loved him as James Bond.
Yes.
I loved him as like the coolest dad of the 80s and 90s. Like, what the heck, right? And I said that to him basically. I was like, you're my dad idol. Like, I look at pictures of you from the 90s. I want to look like you at the carnival. Like, you're the man. And he was just like, what? And I was
he
like,
just didn't know what to do with that.
He just was so dry, but it was almost like he wouldn't. Because I get people to play ball a lot of the time. And that's the crazy part.
That's the hard part.
The crazy part is like, oh, you're so-and-so and you're playing ball. But I get haywire when I'm like, you're Pierce Brosnan. And I did some bit about like,
you weren't even mean or anything. It was like a compliment, and you just like could not play with me.
But I started with that, and then he kind of like you could see the English dry size up where he was like, this guy with the hair is goofy and not a journalist, and like I'm not. I like doing goofy shit.
Isn't he Irish?
Is he?
I thought he was.
Oh, maybe I thought he was English. Maybe he's both.
I think he might. I mean, maybe he's both. Maybe Northern Irish. Then.
This could be.
I don't know. For some reason, I don't know why I thought maybe
he could be, but
I could be wrong. I'm not. I don't want to go to bat for that.
I mean, they're
but
very
I thought he was.
similar drinking habits, you know. Anyway, he I asked a dumb throwaway question I wasn't prepared to ask about, like, this cast is crazy and a lot of people is Black Adam, right? And I'm like, do you guys all like go in costume after and hang out? Like, you in these superhero costumes like at the bar after? And he just looked at me and he was like, this is acting. And I was like,
I know,
you're in
dog.
Black Adam. I'm like, there's green screens everywhere. Anyway, that was my one thing where I was like, sometimes, and this happened with music artists too, where I naturally expect you to go with the flow because of my improv background and comedy and my personality. This is same with my relationships, same with my friends.
If I'm playing with you, I thought, you could tell really freaking quick if someone is in the mood. Because, like, I'm sure when you do these, like, press junket things, like, I'm sure they're like, who knows how many hours they've been talking to
it's crazy.
People. And so I'm like, I try to put it within context.
Yeah.
Like that year, I did the 1 year at SNL and you're meeting these hosts.
Yeah.
Which very oftentimes is like, can be like the zenith of their popularity. Like you're meeting, there are a lot of the times they're hosting SNL at the height of whatever they're doing.
Right.
And so I would always like, okay, this is a very hectic time in whoever's life. Right. They're doing this, and this, and this, and there's a lot going on. And they're in an environment that is unfamiliar with them if they're not a comedy background type person.
Correct.
And it was always fun kind of sizing up certain like actors to see how down they would be.
Correct. Yep.
And like most like actors or most non-comedians were surprisingly pretty down for whatever because they are like because of the things are written for them. This is the character I play. They are very much like, hey, I just want this to be good and I'll trust fall into whatever you guys think is funny and if you like let me know. And a lot of times they're kind of good at throwing it back. It oftentimes weirdly enough was the people who had a comedy background that knew like that had idealized like what their SNL episode would be like in their head that were like harder to work with.
Really?
A little bit.
They maybe put too much pressure on like this better be really funny. It's SNL.
Yes. Or they've just daydreamed like if I ever host SNL I want to do this and this and then you go and you're like here's some ideas that are really funny and they're like that's not the three things I thought of when I was 20. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I'm glad you brought up SNL. One day I have so many questions, but what was the wildest host story, like, because you guys are directly with the hosts a lot, like you said, was one that stood out that was like wildly funny and you weren't expecting it or anything like that? Like
Charles Barkley is really funny.
I could see that.
Charles Barkley, I was like so excited for Charles Barkley because he's hosted a bunch of times.
Yeah.
He's hosted a bunch of times and I knew, and like that's something that they'll do at the start of the week. They'll kind of print out if the host has hosted before, they'll put in the writer's room like all the episodes, like because we all have access to all the episodes, and they're like you can go back and watch these episodes and see like what they've done in the past. Here are the rundowns. And so I was just like looking through, and I'm like, man, Charles Barkley's done a bunch of shit here. Yeah, and I watched some Charles Barkley stuff, and I'm like, he's so funny, but because of that, he's hosted like a bunch of times. He knows the rundown. He knows how it works. He knows the rhythm of the week and because of that, he knows some of the crew and the costume people and the cue cards guys, right? Yeah. These guys, the people that work at SNL are like lifers oftentimes. They've been working there for 40 years, some of them. And there was one point, Charles Barkley loves pranks. And so it's like on a Thursday or a Friday where the show has been picked. So the sketches are locked in. We're not writing anymore. We're done. The warfare portion is over with the week. So now we're just rehearsing the sketches. We're at Studio 8H. Excuse me. During the rehearsals, there's only Wally, the cue cards guy. There's only one cue card guy to get us through the rehearsals. On Saturday, there'll be multiple cue cards for your eye lines, right? But at the rehearsal, it's always Wally, and he's been there forever. Yeah. And there's at one point, we're rehearsing the sketch, and Charles goes, Wally, you're switching the cue cards too fast. Before I can even read them, you're switching them too fast. And we're like, oh, shit. Like, Wally's getting busted right now. And Wally's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. We keep rehearsing the sketch. Charles goes, Wally, you're fucking up the cue cards, man. You keep switching it faster than what I wanted to do, you know. And then Wally goes, "What's your fucking problem?" Like this is like,
Wow.
you don't do this. Like Wally's like, "What's your deal?" Like basically claps back and like is kind of swearing at Chuck. And Chuck gets up and like goes over and kind of gets in his face, and he's like, you know, like, know your place. Like, you got to back. Like, it was very tight butthole. Like, oh my God, Charles Barkley is about to fight Wally, the cue card guy. Like, this is so fucked up. And then they both start cracking up, laughing, and give each other a big bear hug. And it was like, Charles had clearly set this up just to keep it interesting for himself. But he was like, yeah, I'm going to pick a fight with you, Wally, and you have to like fight back with me.
That's awesome.
It was pretty funny. But in the moment, I was like, oh no.
Don't mess with it. He's a legend.
Barkley's Barkley's going to kill Wally.
I know Wally, the story of Wally. He's a legend there.
He's a legend.
Been there forever. But I love that also at that level. Like, I respect Charles Barkley hearing that, because it's like he's messing around with the whole environment. That must be what makes hosts better, though. Like you said, like, it's not so close to the chest. Like, let's have fun. It's a sketch comedy show, and
if they know how it works, it's so much easier.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, dude. That's hilarious. I can't imagine.
But then it's also funny because some of the people that have done it a bunch of times, like Bill Hader, who worked there, obviously. The people who were returning like SNL cast members and stuff, they were like, they knew how it worked too well, to the point where I remember Bill being like, I'd written a sketch, and Bill was like, oh, do you want me to go tell the cue cards guys to change this line? And I'm like, you're the host, dog. Like, you don't have to do like. I'll take care of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that busy.
Like, still doing the job.
Yes, yeah. He was too in it. You know, like he knew the routine too well, almost. Where I'm like, you're not having to do the legwork,
the inner workings. Yeah. Which a lot of people don't realize if you're just fans of it. The inner workings of that show. And
it's crazy.
It's insane, and the demand, and I'm obsessed with the history. Obviously, I'm sure you are too.
I mean, yeah,
just the amount that goes into making that show spin is nuts.
It's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah,
but it's also like an antique a little bit.
Yeah. Like it's
if they don't, meaning they don't change. If certain things, they are just locked in the way that they have done them since 1975.
Yeah,
this is the way.
Right.
And that's Lorne. He's just a creature of habit. He's
I am curious, and forgive me because I'm sure you've told this story on podcasts before, but I wanted to know kind of your process getting on the show. Like, I'm just curious what it was like for you getting in there, because for all of us as kids doing this, getting on SNL is the absolute dream. So it must have been a wild ride to get on the show.
It was.
I can imagine.
It was wild, man. I mean, I'm the same as you. Dreamed of getting on there. Had a kind of read the Live from New York. I don't know if you ever read that book where it's like all testimonials from people who had been there. It's not, when you read that book, it is not all, rosy information. This is a lot of like, this place is toxic and can, freak you out. Mm-hmm. And so, I lived in Chicago. I did improv and sketch and stand up in Chicago. And in Chicago, they every summer, the SNL people will come out kind of unannounced. You don't know when it's going to be. You know it's going to be vaguely at the end of the summer. But they'll come out and they will visit Second City, and they'll come to I.O. Chicago. And so
did you do both?
I did I.O. Chicago. Cool. And on every other, I never really did Second City, but I did every other little theater in Chicago, and I loved it. I had Annoyance Theater, CIC.
Yep.
A lot of stuff. But I.O. was the one that got me the at-bat. Mm-hmm. And just like even being able to, do 5 minutes of solo sketch and characters for the SNL producers, that to me, I was like, wow, already crazy story. Like, just to be one of the 15, 20 people that they select to be able to do this is already like an honor. And, the first year that I did it was 2016. And in my group of people that they came out and saw, Alex Moffat got hired on the show that year.
Got it. Okay.
And so it was crazy to see, oh my gosh, someone got hired.
Yeah.
Like someone got hired out of Chicago. And so that year I had, everyone like works on their 5 minutes of solo sketch and characters and whatever. You get 5 minutes to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so the first time they saw me, you know, they didn't get flown out or anything. It was like, but it was cool. I had a good audition. I was proud of it.
Nice.
It was very standard audition where I did, you know, a couple characters, a couple bits, a little song, you know. But the following year, they asked to see me again. They said, we'd like to see this guy again.
Nice.
I went, great. But I was like, since they want to see me again, I'm going to do not a standard SNL audition. I'm going to do like a little bit of a crowd worky bit. I'm going to do like a longer piece of my 5 minutes. I'm going to use like 4 minutes of my 5 minutes to do one character.
Which is bold.
Which is
a
bold.
choice.
It's a bold choice. And I did this character where I'm Christian God, and I have like a trucker hat on that sounds like bullshit to me, and I got long gray wig, and I just come out and I'm kind of just I got my jokes loaded up in there, but so I kind of go through like, y'all have been fucking everything up, and I'm here to like clear the air and answer some questions if y'all have questions, like, and I'm going through evolution. I put dinosaur bones in there to trick you, but a bunch of stupid jokes. The SNL people, they come out to Chicago. They know that it's a home game for us.
Right.
So like it's packed to the gills with your friends.
Awesome.
And it's the warmest possible crowd.
Nice.
So
it's a great way to audition.
It's great, but they know that.
Yeah.
And so they flew a handful of us out to Chicago. After they met with us the following night, they had like drinks with a few people.
Nice.
And so I got to meet Lauren and some of the producers that night, and everyone is like shitting their britches, nervous.
Sure.
And I got to meet Lauren that night, and I think I was the only person that ordered a drink because everyone else was so scared, and they're like, we're at this table with them, and I said, they asked us for a drink order and no one's ordering anything. And I was like, I'll have, I'll do a whiskey ginger,
Hell yeah.
know? And the server was like, what kind of whiskey would you like? And I remember saying in front of Lauren and these guys, I was like, the shittiest kind you got. And then the producers were like, we're paying for it. And I went, the best kind you got. And they got a kick out of that.
That's great.
They fly you to New York. And I'd never been in New York.
Ever?
Ever.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
what
yeah.
a cool way to go, dude.
So I'm like Kevin McAllister in the Home Alone 2 in the taxi, like, oh, my gosh, this is crazy. And they also told me, like, they had us all on the same email, and they flew a handful of us out.
Yeah.
And they were like, everyone can do exactly what they did in Chicago. Luke, not you, though. We need something else that, you can't do that again. And I went, okay.
Great.
So I am going to New York thinking I'm the last place horse.
Right.
Because I'm like, I have to scram. I have 2 days to write a new 5 minutes.
Damn.
But which ended up being a good exercise because that is the job. Is you're writing shit that happened that week, right? But that audition, the host stage audition, is famous for being ice cold.
Oh, I know.
They're very like, they don't laugh. They don't give it up to you. They ice you out. It's very impersonal. They say your name, 3, 2, 1. The lights come up. The red light comes on, and
nervous.
you go.
I'm nervous right now just thinking about it.
It's nerve-wracking, and they keep you there all fucking day.
Yeah.
So I remember peeing 11 times that day, just because I was so nervous.
I love that you counted.
After a while, you're like, I can't stop
11.
peeing.
Yeah.
But I tried not to like run my thing into the ground, but I did. But I did my audition, and I always did a little element where I had a little song in there.
Which I feel like Lauren in the room when you auditioned?
Yeah.
Of course, he always is, right?
At least he's not always in Chicago, but he was when
in New York.
Yes,
I know he can be ice cold in the auditions, but I also feel like he must have respected, like, the guitar thing is so iconic for SNL also that there's some sort of, because you do it so well, I bet you he respected, like, oh, he's bringing the guitar out. Like,
I don't know that he did.
No?
Weirdly, the whole time as I'm auditioning, every time they saw me, I did some song element.
You sprinkled it in. You had
sprinkled
to.
it in.
You're doing you.
Trying to showcase myself, right?
Yeah.
And so, cut to when I eventually do get hired against all, like, I did not think I was going to be hired by SNL. I really didn't. I was very much so like every step along the ladder. I was just like, this is insane. I've gotten this far.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is like before Saturday Night Live, I had auditioned for a Slim Jim commercial and I didn't get it. And then I auditioned for Saturday Night Live and I got it. Like that was, I literally had never auditioned for TV before.
Good for you though.
But it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Also, your adrenal glands, like I feel like are conditioned to do anything now from that
I mean, but I'm like, it's such a fucked up like way to begin a career.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 0 to 1,000. Really,
it's 0. I went, and I also in Chicago. I should make it clear. I was not like the it guy in Chicago either. So I kind of went from like single A baseball to MLB.
Yeah. Well, what
like
a flex coming back to Chicago, being like SNL bitches.
Well, you would think, but then I never got to have that kind of moment because I got immediately fired.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, you know, my year there was tough because I thought they hired me to do the music thing, but they really didn't. They liked my characters. They also, I was probably 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. So looking back, like they had just lost Bobby Moynihan and they had hired me. They kind of wanted me to be the new chubby guy.
Right.
And then I get on TV and the first thing I do is like start dieting and exercising.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. You're like, I'm on TV.
I'm like, oh, I can't be like this. And so I think that didn't help my chances. This is all looking back, whether this is true or not, but they definitely did not want me to do songs. And I thought that once they hired me, I was like, oh, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But every time I would pitch a song, right in the trash.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder, maybe because of what I said earlier about the legacy of songs there and
I just never got the at-bat. Never really got the chance. I'm confident that if they had ever given me the Weekend Update song desk, I think my time, that's maybe would have been the only thing that would have changed my fate there.
Right.
But bad timing.
Well,
mostly.
listen, man, I want to pull something up for you I looked up before because I want you to know, and I'm sure you've Googled this. I don't know how you feel about that you've done, the time you've done there. Oh, please load. Hold on.
Oh, no.
But do you know this? I just want to read off a list of people who also did a year at SNL. Has anybody ever done this to you?
Yeah. There's some. It's a club.
Billy Crystal.
Oh yeah.
Sarah Silverman. Martin Short. Robert Downey Jr. Ben Stiller. Dude, Rob Riggle.
I know. I've met several of the people that you just listed off, and there is a weird, like fraternity almost of like one and doneers. And I think that's incredible. You're part of an amazing list of performers. I hope you see it that way because you could also look at it. You know, it's hard to look back on things. Like I'm a guy who looks forward, but I hope you see how talented you are and the fact that you got through that and did it. It's kind of you to say.
It's
now
crazy.
Go through the last 20 years and tell me how many of the one. And I'm saying no. There's lots of people who are doing a great job. I love it. But like I said, it's
Randy Quaid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But he saves the world in Independence Day, so
that's true.
All's well there. We got a full-on trash.
Sorry, we are by the trash.
No, it's here. Randy Quaid. He's just parking his trash truck.
The shitter's full, Clark.
That's right.
But I'm saying
she's born without a tongue, Clark. I like how he said that. She's born without a tongue.
That's right. I'm saying I think it's incredible that you got through that at the time you did in your comedy career, like, and you got on the show. It's such a feat. Like, you really should sit in the fact that that's an amazing thing you accomplished by doing that.
It's something that I look back on now and can see for the positives. But man, oh man, in the moment when it's not going your way and you're like not getting in the show and you're just like, oh, it was brutal.
I bet
it was brutal because especially I came away from it kind of feeling like. Mandy Patinkin from The Princess Bride. At the end where he's like, I don't know if you ever see that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
He talks about the six-fingered man and how he's like, at the end of the movie, he goes like, this is some Princess Bride spoilers. Mm-hmm. He's like, I spent my whole life chasing the six-fingered man, and now that I've killed him, I don't know what to do. And there was very much a year after SNL where I'm like, all I've been doing is dreaming about doing this job, and I immediately got the job and lost it instantly.
Right.
And now I'm like, what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah.
And I didn't really, like, the heat from me being on SNL was relatively non-existent.
Okay.
Just because I didn't get much of an at bat while I was there.
Well, you did a bunch of sketches and stuff, but you're saying maybe you didn't do your own signature.
I didn't. I mean, there's a reason I didn't stick around is because I did not have a moment that found that was the next lily pad to jump to post SNL.
Sure.
Thankfully, though, stand-up stuff, I had live performing always in my back pocket, and that has been something that has been a godsend to make into a career since SNL times.
Totally. Well, what I know about people who've been on that show and in general in this business, being around this business for so long, is like it happened as it should for you, and it also in a way will make you kind of stronger with that in your purview. I think like even seeing you live now, like I don't know, there's something about you could tell. Like I think you've been through the scariest version of this already. Like you could go do an arena and be fine in my mind. Versus what you've been through in comedy is crazy.
Yes.
And the craziest level, I feel like it's like you've trained in a way. That's the way I see it.
I've definitely got my battle scars.
Yeah.
I've been, and if anything, this career in, entertainment is just a beat down. And I started just with the fiercest beatdown of all.
Totally.
You know, which is a year at SNL just getting torn apart.
I bet.
But like you said, I do like to think that I've at least been battle tested a little bit. Yeah. And I had to grapple with like not succeeding there.
Yeah.
That sucked. It took me probably a year and a half to like mentally turn the page.
Yeah.
It sucked. Yeah.
I bet. But you know what though? I think that this business is full of those no's and rejection, and like that's just a big one for you, but I respect it because I think that's how we move and shake in a way. And there's also like ways to push past. I mean, look at Shane, who just came back to host after getting fired without ever being on it.
Crazy.
What a flex. But I look at people like him and I go like he put his head down. I don't know if you know the Fourth Wall. It's a comedy club here.
Yeah.
Do you know that he just posted when Shane was hosting SNL? You'll appreciate this. He posted an email he got the week after he got fired from SNL, the owner of Fourth Wall, which is a great small club here, but it's not a Comedy Store improv. It's like a small workout club. Yeah. He posted his signups for like the mic the next week, and it was Shane Gillis. And he was like, I got to get up and get back to work. So there's something about, I like that he was like, I just lost, in his mind, I didn't even get to do it.
Right.
But he immediately like channeled it to like, I'm going to get better at stand-up. So like there's a way to use all this, and I think you are because you're doing great, to become better performers and to like channel our creativity to just be funnier and better. And maybe I'm an optimist, so I see it that way for you.
No, I think what you're saying is true. It's tough, having kind of lived the ups and the downs. It sucks because the ups of that experience, like we're literally getting to the call, and like I'm like at my job in Chicago and I have to like, I quit. I gotta go. I gotta move.
Wow.
I gave them my 15-minute notice, and they called me like 4:45 on a Friday at my job.
Damn.
And we're like, you need to be living in New York by Monday.
What were you doing?
I worked for a tech startup in Chicago.
Nice.
And they're great. They were cool. They knew there was a chance that might happen, but it was. It is weird that like when I think back on it, like the high watermark is like not even having experienced it at all, and then being there, you're like, oh no, this is like a year-long slow motion car crash.
Oh,
but
I mean, dude, yeah.
But life goes on, like, and I do think like even with the kind of beat down that comes with not succeeding at SNL. There really was never a time during my time there that it made me go like, I suck or I'm not funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I've clung to that being like, it did break me down, but in terms of like I'm not able to play the game, I just, got caught holding the bag kind of thing. But it's like, at least I never lost sight of kind of what got me there.
That's great, man. Yeah, I mean, you were picked for a reason, so it's like
I think so too.
There's an ecosystem and a political system inside of all television and stuff that is just different. By the way, I hope this doesn't feel like therapy for you. I'm just curious about this, and I like bringing up I'm intrigued by your journey because I see you now as somebody killing it on stage, doing great, and I'm just curious about the inner workings of all this stuff because it's like we have to take everything we go through and use it and kind of like chisel out how it all goes. And for me, because I romanticize SNL, I work at 30 Rock. I walk around 8H because I have an ID there. I think it's amazing. You have a different experience. It is amazing, but I'm saying like it's the grass is always greener in a way, and we also it's a good lesson in like romanticizing one goal and it not being like you have to.
It's a be careful what you wish for.
Exactly.
You just might get it.
Yeah. And also stay, like, this business is full of highs and lows. Like, I just want to be in the middle, dude. Like, I get high because somebody did this thing and I got this and I get low. I just want to stay even, dude.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
I just want to do some funny stuff and be able to pay the bills.
Exactly. Which is sounds easier said than done, right?
It's extremely difficult to do that, what I just said.
I know you're married now, so I wonder if, like, going through this ride made you prioritize, like, I mean, now you're married, you got
right.
more of a stable... Not that comedians aren't stable, but I mean, like, being
she was with me through all
that's
that
great too. Then that's nice.
But it was like, for her, it was almost even tougher because she describes it as like, seeing me struggle that year and not being able to help is like seeing no one sits with your kid at lunch and you like as a parent being like, I don't know what to do. They're on their own,
Yeah.
And it really was like that year in New York was rough, but it's like having a partner that knows that how tough that year was. And I had made her uproot her life and move out just to see me like not whiff, but you know what I mean? Like for it not to work out.
Yeah.
But it is, it's a chapter in the book now as far as our story together. But we, been with the same gal for 13 years.
Oh my gosh. You are from the Midwest.
That's right. Long time.
Is she from there?
She's from Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah, she's from like Akron.
Did you meet in high school?
We met in college. She was the barista at the coffee shop I started doing
way to go.
Comedy at. Yeah.
You're like, let me get a iced.
Let me get an iced chai and let me spill it all over my shirt. And she always tells about when she first saw me that I was wearing a plaid shirt and different plaid pants. So I was like, I needed help.
Wow, you were double plaiding.
I needed help.
Oh my god.
I knew not what. Well, I didn't know what the fuck I was
now,
doing.
Dude. You got the
now I'm really
the
killing
cool
it.
Shades.
Yeah, she's
helped.
She's got me going. She says
that's
dirty
funny.
shoes. Yeah.
I used to hit on baristas all the time. I used to love them. I hit on one in Italy, New York. My wife's a singer-songwriter, but whatever.
Yeah, you're like, she doesn't.
There's something about that relationship, though. It's like, hey, we could be friends. Hey, I
yes.
What movie? I just watched La La Land again.
Yeah,
For some reason, she's a barista in that. In the beginning, there's some nice little romance there at the barista.
Of course, there's a barista romanticizing. I feel like too. What we call it? What is it? The people on the work on planes, like air hosts. What is it? Airline attendants.
Maids? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
Stewardess?
Stewardess.
No. Flight attendant.
Flight attendant.
There you go.
There's a certain amount of like, the 5 seconds of like, I'm in love. I'm in love with her.
Are you serving me what I need in this moment?
Thank you for the biscotti cookies.
Maybe as men, or maybe it's not gender related, but we just want to be like served on. Like you still make her make you your coffee because you're still the barista.
Maybe is that so? It's a power element for you.
Maybe.
For me, it's more just like I'm seated and I'm locked in and I might die here. And this is, I'm just in love.
I'm in love. We don't know what's going to happen. This is an extreme situation. Tell me what's going on now since I know we talked about SNL for a bit, but I'm curious now. We just did a show together. You absolutely killed.
Oh, back at you.
Oh, thanks, man. I didn't do enough material. I appreciate it. But no, I want to know kind of your next steps, goals. Like I know you're touring a lot. We talked earlier about like touring, selling tickets, the climate of comedy.
Yeah.
But I see you as like you're an outlier in my mind. And I like telling people this because a lot of times my buddy gave this great analogy. He was like, we're all in jars of jelly.
Sure.
And we don't see our own labels.
Yeah.
And I knew you. I just think you're on your own. You're on your own force in a weird way. Like you're on a track. I could see it.
Ooh.
But it's also how you perform and the shows. Like, do you just want to continue touring? Do you want to do TV again? Do you want to do movies? Like, is there still the goal posts for you post SNL?
For me, I think I've always kind of kept the. It's kind of everything that you said was too nice to take, but.
So I'm Midwest about the compliments.
Good jar. Good. Hopefully my jar is a good yummy pepper jelly, or something. Got a little spice to it, a little zest.
Yeah, a little zest.
Got a little zest.
Got some, yeah.
I feel like what I've always told myself, and I think this is true, is like I want to be able to make a living doing comedy in whatever form that takes. And, you know, it's Hollywood, so you got your fingers in a bunch of different pies at any given time. You know, I've had a script in development hell for years. I got, you know, other things kind of cooking. But, like, stand-up for me has been the thing that, like, at least you control some part of your own destiny. Yeah, pretty much. You know, in that you are writing it. It's up to you in your relationships and your friendships to get stage time and to put one foot in front of the other there. It being a career, tough. It's tough. It's a grind. It's a lot of logistical stuff. It's, you know, it's a lot. But at least with like TV and film, like I would love to do that shit, but there's so many gatekeepers and man, oh man, I'm not beaten down by it, but it's just comedy in TV and film right now is at a weird place. There's not that much of it going on.
Well, none of it. Studios are afraid to make anything really funny.
That is true. Right. We live in a weird time. Yeah. But I think I'm optimistic that the tides on that will shift. Totally. I think you know, especially with like these like $200 million budget movies, like a lot of these big budget movies have like. It only takes a couple of those to swing and miss before they're like, we could make a $10 million comedy and, you know, and it would make money. You know what I mean? Like, but you're right. It's hard. Just climate, and not that I'm not like a boomer saying like you can't say anything anymore. But it's like I'm kidding. But the like studios view it like that. Yeah, where they you know, and I wouldn't want to make something that seeks to offend. I would want to make something funny, but. It's just hard. It's not really being produced right now.
But I like what you said about stand-up, though, and this is why I was attracted to it. Similarly, in the business of all the things, TV, movies, and radio, podcasting, whatever you might be doing. Podcasting is kind of in line with stand-up with me, where like we get to make our ships and set them sail, and you can develop your audience. I mean, it's a lot harder. Like in my mind, tough. It's like
so oversaturated.
Pick this up. I know. Pick this up and give it a like in the old days, you get one thing and like we like you. Now you're going to be in this TV show, and now everyone's going to know you, and then you can go do an arena, or you can go do a theater
Johnny
tour.
Carson asked you to sit at the couch, so now you're set.
It was more one tracked, but I like to look at this time as an opportunity now because don't worry, I railed against this for years. Like you're sitting in my podcast studio after years of me saying, I've done this long enough. Someone needs to give me a studio.
Yeah, let me do this.
Now I'm in debt with this.
But, hell yeah, but it looks good.
Thank you. But I'm saying like we have an opportunity now. The self-sustaining idea of the stand-up track is so attractive to me now because some of my biggest idols in this business are doing the thing, and it took many years of this grinding you're describing.
That's right.
But then you have your people, you have your audience, you bring them anywhere, and like you're making a living, and you don't have someone on high saying you can't do the God song the way you got to take out that line in the God song because it's offended our advertiser. You go, this is my people, and I'm
my shit.
That's
what stand up is great.
That's why it's the best track to be on. As much as it feels like a grind, I think it's the smartest one and the best one. And all the stand-ups say that at every level. I've talked to people like who haven't sold a lot of tickets and then selling at arenas. It's you got to love that part of it, you know?
I do love that part of it. That's why I love live performance the best.
It's the best.
But it's also tough because now to sell tickets to live performance stuff, like your clips can only do so much a lot of the times. I mean, there's certain comedians, you know, you can live off of your clips, but it's like so many people have podcasts too. Yeah. You have to have like a steady stream of videos and stuff so that people choose to prioritize buying a ticket to see you over something else that they could waste their time doing. And I would love to waste some people's time, you know?
Yeah. I think you can and you will do more of that. You are.
I will. It's a grind. And it's something like I just love performing live. I think it's so fun. I have a great time doing it. It's been cool enough that I've been able to travel all over the country performing so many places and meeting so many people. And then at the same time, like, I'm like, man, I have to be so lucky and have worked so long and so hard to be able to get to where I'm at. And at the same time, I'm like, but I'm not like killing, like I'm not making $1 bajillion. Like I'm like subsistence living.
Yeah.
Like I'm not starving, and I'm also not buying a vacation house.
Right,
You know what I mean? Where it's
right,
like
right.
where I'm like, man, what do I have to do to go that next? You know what I mean? Where I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I feel like I'm, I'm doing the thing, which is more
Yeah.
than a lot of people could say.
Yeah.
And even then, you're like, man, what a grind! I would
know.
love for one of the dominoes to fall and it not feel like such a grind all
Well,
the
I
time.
can tell you what the answer is.
It's right. What is it?
Keep going.
Got to keep going. That's one thing.
That's all it is.
For sure. Is I'm sunk cost fallacy at this point, my dude.
Yeah.
There's no turning back now. I'm in too deep.
Yeah.
To
But that is how it goes.
You're
you
right.
keep going, and it feels this way, and then I'm going to be calling you in 3 years, not even, and you're going to be like, I will not do that podcast because
I need to be
have
paid.
a Bentley
That's right.
waiting for me to go to this airport to do this thing. No, I'm kidding, but like I know that it's true to keep going because you're talented enough and funny enough where it's happening already. It's like we don't see it. Someone told me this other analogy I love, which like everything
You're
have,
a jar of pepper jelly, and you're in a Bugatti.
You're in a Bugatti, jar of pepper jelly, and everything you have now you once dreamt of having already. We just
I like that.
it's true. We just forget.
Meaning it's hard to we're on you're on the path. It's hard to zoom out and see where you're at and where you came and where you're headed.
Listen, I'm speaking to myself when I tell you this.
No,
but, like,
I know.
It's how it feels. And also, I don't like being here because everyone does this shit. Everyone's bigger, better, stronger, and they don't care about you. It's like, but we forget the late, like, because I struggle with this too, with the rejection of this. It's like, oh, why that guy and not this? The comparison kills the joy. All the same shit. It's like,
it's tough. It's hard not to do that, but at
know.
the same time, stand up is one of those things to me that is like, there is something very sink or swim about being up there. Either they're laughing or they're not.
right. Yeah.
And all of us who do this know a bomb is waiting for you. Like there will be another time, no matter how good you are, where some show will not go your way.
just happened to me. Yeah.
And sometimes you got to really savor the flavor of a good bomb. But
Dude.
sometimes bombing is like, it sucks every time, but sometimes you just have to laugh when it's just going so bad. But there's something about like the sink or swim nature of either they're laughing or they aren't.
Yeah.
And you can come. I oftentimes will, where I'll be beating myself up about, oh, this didn't work, and I was working on this bit and I'm doing this, and then, oh man, I'm driving home and I'm like, this didn't go so good, and then. Somebody, I'll see someone again that was at that show, and they'll be like, "Man, you did like," and it's hard for you to contextualize, like, "Oh, they thought I killed it," but I'm beating myself up because this 30-second chunk that I was working on didn't go my way.
Well, we're perfectionists up there, and we also, I think, at your level, and I can relate to getting laughs for a while. Like when you do really well consistently, and this doesn't happen to me all the time, but like when you get big laughs a lot on stage, and then you do shows where like they're kind of trickling, you think you're bombing, but like it's just because they're not as strong as the show before.
There's a million reasons for why I've been able to rationalize why it wasn't me that bombed. It was like, but there's truth to all of them too, where it's like sometimes the vibe of the crowd, just like sometimes you got to tell a joke that works every time to kind of establish the laugh-o-meter, where you're like, okay, this is a certified killer joke that I've taken all over the country and it kills. Where I'm like, and you only gave it this.
Yeah.
So
something's
like,
up.
this is it's more just like, now this is the new range.
Right.
Where I'm like, I know not to expect. You don't have this spectrum in you. This is the spectrum. So I need to be satisfied.
Right.
With that being the top end.
It could be, yeah. Oh.
Certain times, that's just how it is. We're just like, maybe the show's been going on too long. Maybe the person before you, like, salted the earth behind them and bombed so hard where you have to, like, work to, There's a lot of reasons why. I
was just in Austin for my new TV job, this gig I'm doing, and I invited my entire...
Torchy Stockos.
Yeah. I invited all my new crew I'd never met, and I was like, oh, I got on some shows. I thought it was so cool. Like, I'm new to traveling, doing this. Yeah. I'm in Austin. Let me get on some stages. I got on some shows. The first show of the night, just same vibe. It wasn't like...
Where was it?
It was Velveeta.
Velveeta room.
Yeah, so that room, which I don't know anything about it, but... Sure. I get in there, the headliner's like, I'm just like a bushy-tailed optimist in stand-up still, which people hate. Comics hate.
Old road dogs.
Because I'm newer to
They're grizzled.
Yeah, I'm newer. And so this guy, I was like, oh, how long have you been doing this? This is the headliner. He goes, too long. I'm about to quit. And I'm like, okay. And then I go,
Cool.
and then everyone goes up. I invite my crew I just met. They're in the front row, dude. I'm like, I want to impress them as I'm working for them. And like, I better be funny. Dude, I got nothing for like 10 minutes.
No.
I mean, I got some stuff. I had, but anyway, just to share, like, I know what you're saying because I don't know how much was me or how much was my pressure I put on myself to like be good for these people.
There's a lot of moving parts to it.
But but also to your point is, it's the ultimate leveler for us in business and life. Like you have to, you do this every night. You kind of get thicker about it all. You go like, I'm gonna keep going because you're working. That's a harder job than anything else. Is to do that consistently,
totally,
to eat shit consistently, to get well consistently, to get good laughs. Like I don't know. I just love the idea of it. Like you have to keep working.
You do, and it's a muscle like anything else, where it's like the more you do it, the better you'll get at it, or at least you'll learn kind of. Here's my tricks of what I can do if it's not going well, or if it's, we all have our things we fall back on, but it's like, in general, it is nice to know that even in spite of the times that I've bombed, in general, you can take away with it like, I know what I'm doing, and,
right?
Maybe sometimes it's just not your night, or the crowd just ain't feeling you, and that's A-okay.
Yeah.
But it is. It never has a bomb been so bad that I wasn't like, well, see you tomorrow. I'll be back. Like I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. What is your process before I let you go on writing your comedy songs? Do you try them out on stage first? Do you have a premise, or do you go full lyrics?
I used to go full lyrics.
Yeah.
I used to go full lyrics, and then I started to realize that I think the TikTokification of comedy and like it now being a huge part of being a comedian is you need to be putting out stand-up clips. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, it's been brainworms to me. And I'm like, now it's changed how I write because now I should be less precious with whatever, and just so I can jizz it out. And if it's a good tape, I'll put it up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I used to be very precious about it. And like, I'm putting out a stand-up special at some point this year. I filmed it at the end of last year.
Oh, that's great.
Getting all the editing done. It's finally coming together here, but it looks great. And those are things like I really worked on and polished. They're years old now at this point.
Yeah.
These are things that I really put work into. When God knows when I chop it up and I'm going to put it on as clips on the internet, who knows if I'm like the amount of work and time and all this stuff, when it's like half the time when I go up there and go, a poop just farted is the million hit. Where I'm like, the stuff that I'm like really putting my time and effort into is nothing, and something I just made up on stage does great.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. So now I'm poisoned because of that, and I'm trying not to be too precious with writing at all. And if I throw it out there and it works, great. I'll keep doing it. If I don't, I move on. But I'm not as tight. I'm way looser, and I think it's a bad thing. I liked being tighter. I liked it rhyming and being zippy, and I don't care as much anymore.
Well,
because I can't afford to.
I think you could do both things though. Like I think you could use the loose process with the internet to tighten as like once you get to a place you could tighten as you go, and then have a cohesive tighten song at the end maybe.
You know what's weird too is like I could be improvising something and just riffing something out on stage, and if that pops off on the internet and does really well, I will do it exactly like that again. Like I will watch that clip back and I'll go, oh, even though this isn't like the best song necessarily, I'm like, it's
hitting.
Funnier. It's
hitting. Yeah.
Something about that rhythm of that is hitting.
Well, look, I'm an improviser. So are you. Can we get a little loose before you go? I do have a guitar next to you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I saw that. I didn't know. Sure.
I mean, we might as well. Two guys sitting on a podcast on the internet talking about
killing
loose.
the game.
What
we got here?
My instinct is to do a little drumming with you because I am a drummer. Let's make sure we hear you. Hold on.
Ooh.
You're a little bit of both. Maybe you get both. But before we do a little song, this is completely improvised Luke Null song at the end here. What's bothering you right now? We can come up with a way to talk about something. What's bothering you, man?
What's bothering me? Well, let's think about it. What is bothering me? What's bothering me is how expensive coffee is. I got a coffee place across the street, and I always go to the coffee place, and then I crunch the numbers for how much money I'm spending on $6 cold brews. And my wife's like, that's a lot of cold brews every single day to be buying and spending. And then she's like, just do the math of how much money you are spending on a cold brew every morning. And she's like, is it that hard to make? And I'm like, it's really not that hard to make, no.
But doesn't it taste better when it's made by someone else?
It's way, way better when other people make it, yeah. And it's also like there are times where if I'm not leaving my house for a cold brew, then I'm not leaving my house that day, which is messed up. I want to leave my house and go outside. It's a ritual, and it's a poop thing too.
Yeah.
I feel like when I go for my little coffee walk, I come home, then I poop. You get the coffee flowing through you. I come home and I poop. Yeah. What's bothering you?
What's bothering me? Oh. I'll jump in, but then I'm gonna drum, I think. What's bothering me, man? What's bothering me? Cause I'm a parent of two. I don't like hearing about how you parent your two. I wanna know how to parent myself with my kids.
That's
So
right.
tired of people telling me what to do with them.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I feel like the only way that I can relate to that is watching other people's dogs and them trying to tell me what their dog needs. And I'm like, if your dog's not sick, then your dog is a dog. I know how a dog behaves. It's gonna be fine if I don't microwave their food. It's a fucking dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you just hit my biggest trigger, dude. You just hit my biggest trigger. Here we go. Dogs are not kids. Kids are not dogs.
That's
Don't
right.
tell me dogs are kids, because they're not at all. So please stop telling me how to walk your dog. It's not a fucking kid, so leave the fuck alone. Hey.
Fuck alone, hey.
Keep going. I want to jam with you.
Oh. Leave us the fuck alone. Oh, yeah. And then did you notice that I compared kids to dogs? That's the only thing I can, cause I don't have kids, yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I would give terrible advice to you about your kids, and I would love for you to have to, with a straight face, believe me and have to accept my advice and be like, oh, is that how you parent, dude? That's not what you should do. What you should do.
Luke, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh
This is a
yeah.
blast.
Hell yeah, let's play us out with it. Let's crescendo. Oh, thank you for having me, man. It's been good looping chords with you.
Luke, no, hold on. Coming back. I'm so bad at going back.
Oh hell yeah! I love that. I like that you had the. Oh, that kit does not seem playable from
It's
this
really
angle.
not. It's really set up poorly, but I can jam every once in a while. Dude, thanks for doing
I
that.
love it. Oh, that
for
was
me.
great.
This is why I appreciate you. You roll with the punches,
Oh,
man. You
yeah.
sound great. I appreciate coming on and hanging out. You are a nice Midwestern guy, but you're a really talented comedian. Guys, make sure to check out Luke Null everywhere. Check out, where's your social media?
Social media, Luke Null. Hit me on Insta, TikTok, all that good stuff. I have a mullet now. I'm working on a mullet.
You should, dude. You should see that. I can see that for you.
I'm trying
And
to.
well, look out for his comedy special coming soon on your YouTube or everywhere. Where's it gonna be?
You know, that's part of the adventure is
Good
trying
for
to
you.
sell this sucker.
Get it out there, man. I
See.
love it.
Somewhere, but YouTube at worst.
Awesome. I really appreciate coming, man. I feel like we're friends now. We just met, but I'm
Yes.
glad to hang with you, bro.
Dude,
Appreciate
back
it, man.
at you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody. Hit that song again. Hit it.
Loop it. Oh, thank you for having me, man.
Once Once again, this episode is brought to you by Barefoot Dreams, the comfiest products there is. Make sure you check them out. Celebrating 30 years right now, and there's no surprise why they were on Oprah's best list for I don't know how many years, but Oprah loves it. Not just Oprah, I love it, and that's what I think of when I think of TV and podcast hosts. We go Oprah then me, right? Said no one ever, but I here's what people have said. The fabric from Barefoot Dreams is incredible. It's comfy, and not just fabric, guys. They have so many cool things. They got their candles here. They have clothing, robes. They got special things. And also shout out to Alpha Pals, another company of theirs that is great for parents and kids. If you see our letters here, let me get a letter for you. This is Alpha Pals right here. They have all these cute lettering and also cute things for the kids. My daughter loves Alpha Pals. A lot of cool learning things like letters, how to spell. I've been doing it with my daughter. So shout out to Alpha Pals, and also shout out to our sponsor for this season, Barefoot Dreams, making the coziest stuff around and then some. I want to make sure you guys check them out, and thank you for listening. I'll see you next week. Barefoot Dreams. Bye, everybody.